Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. We're going to continue with the birthday Libra season. So today is going to be this reading dedicated to Monsta X member, rapper, Jooheon. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing this. I always struggle with his name, but I call him Honey. Or I know that a lot of people also call him Jooheon, so I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly either, but yes, you know who he is. So yes, let's talk a bit about the cards that he got. I did a very brief card pull for him in my last live, but I only pulled two cards because, well, this is going to be a more detailed reading. So I hope that you enjoyed it. So let's see the cards that he got. He got the Eight of Swords, King of Swords, Three of Swords, the Strength card, and the Five of Swords. And from the Oracle of the Chakras, he got the cards of Vanity. So yeah, this is very interesting actually because I started this Libra season reading yesterday with Jimin. And I was mentioning that he got a lot of pentacles, even though a lot of earth energy, even though he is an air sign and he has a lot of air placements. But now here with Jooheon, I noticed that he does have a lot of earth elements. You know, swords represent air elements. Sorry. Um, so a lot of thinking here, a lot of thoughts, a lot of ideas, um, and actually a lot of overthinking. So let's see what the cards have to say. I think that starting with the Eight of Swords, there's a sense of like not being able to get out of a mental state. You know, I think that all the cards that he got here, I'm actually like what caught my attention is that there's no card that indicate feelings. So probably he's too much in his head, or he is like he's in this very like analytical and very intellectual kind of um moment where he doesn't allow himself to feel. Um I think probably he can communicate and express himself well, but somehow it seems like there's too much words, too much intellect, like there's something hidden here, you know. Um I don't remember exactly his birth chart, but I believe he's a double Libra, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a sense of trying to balance everything and trying to be on everyone's side, you know, because here with this Queen of Swords, definitely he knows that he feels like there's no way out of a situation or of a way of thinking. um and he recognizes it in himself that he tends to think a lot about like he tends to process thoughts and ideas too intensely, and that he cannot stop. But there's a sense also here with this Queen of Swords, there's a sense that he wants to take over this overthinking. It's like he wants to have a sort of dominance over his excessive thoughts or ideas or even words, because I sense that with a lot of swords here, there's a lot of discussions and conversations and messages in his life. So probably he had been in these very heavy conversations, like this very, I wouldn't say they are emotional, but for him it's a lot of information to process. And it seems like he wants to understand other people's way of thinking at the same time. It's like he's trying to be this sort of mediator. This is very Libra, and he wants to be like the voice of reason. Like he definitely wants to be um like this queen of swords. He wants to be in control. He wants to rule these these conversations. But there are also a lot of heartache in the middle. Like probably I don't know if he had been delivering some very hurtful news or some very like hurtful comments to someone, or somewhat gave him a sort of very like a feedback that was very painful for him to hear. But somehow it's all about communication for him, and probably these 3 months are going to be very challenging in this sense that I feel like the more anxious he feels, the more he's going to want to talk about it. So probably, like trying to find um a sort of like creation in the middle of this chaos, in the middle of all these swords, in the middle of all these words and opinions and sayings. There's a lot here going on. um and I think that even for him it's a bit impossible to escape this tendency of analyzing everything that was said. Probably, oh, like, oh, I had this conversation and then I will have another conversation. So it's a bit like, um, it's complex. It's complex. It seems it's uncomfortable a bit. Um, so I don't know. I think there's a lot of lessons here to be learned at the same time, because he got the card, the major arcana of this strength. So definitely he will overcome this at the end. Um, but the message of the strength card, it's somehow to learn to have the ability to slow down and somehow to not be so reactive. Uh, I think that whenever he tends to feel a bit nervous, or where he feels a bit hurt about some things, especially things that he hears like criticism and stuff, he doesn't take that very well. I mean, who can blame him? I think that there are a lot of people that have the gift to be able to take criticism well. But in this case, it really does hurt him. Criticism or any form of, I think that for him is the way the words are delivered. For him, it's all about the way he receives the message. Because uh, if you are very subtle and somehow try to be nice and positive in the way you deliver like a not so bright opinion or not so happy opinion, but if you do that with class and with a sort of like with a very respectful tone, he can take it. But I think that somehow here with the strength card, there's something about him having to learn to not overreact. There's something about him, like him also having a bit of a temper. Probably he gets really frustrated and he gets really angry when some people he considers some comments like rude or disrespectful. For him, he does have his the things that he cannot like accept, and probably um he did have moments where he feels like some people's opinion were disrespectful towards him, and I think that he reacts from a place of ego, from his ego. So this strength card is here like letting him know that he doesn't have to take this personally, that these are just words, but somehow for him words matter, and opinions matter, so he cannot let go of those. But he has to, and he will eventually. It's just that he needs to calm down, because he does have also the Five of Swords. So I think that the lesson here is that sometimes he has to let go of the need to be right all the time. um I think sometimes he does get into these very heated arguments with people, or he keeps mentioning things that have been talked about in the past with a lot of resentment in the way he talks about it. So he tends to get a bit like too like negative sometimes, and he doesn't realize of how that can turn the mood, or other people's mood can like bring you down, because somehow it seems like when he gets upset about something he doesn't let it go. So it's like a very black cloud that is chasing him all over when he is upset about something. So the real challenge here with the strength card is to learn to not take these words personally, like to be able to, okay, and to refrain himself from reacting, maybe silence, with all these swords. I think that um he has been answering. I don't know if he has haters or people that he considers that are against him, and he tends to reply to them, or respond back or answer back. But I think that here with this Five of Swords, it's like, look at all the energy that you wasted on this on these people's nonsense. Like, they just talked and they just said those words because they just were bored, or they didn't mean it that way, you know. So I think that he needs to learn to be more selective about his own battles, because I believe that he does tend to get triggered a lot. He gets really angry, he gets angry at himself, he gets angry at the situation, and he tends to review those same situations and words over and over and over, almost obsessively. And I think that this is something that doesn't do him good. Like, it's not healthy. It's not good for his mental health. It's not like, he needs to learn to refrain a bit more, like to be selective of what he pays attention, and learn to somehow um like stop himself from reacting, because I think that probably there are a lot of people that know that he tends to react, so they do these things on purpose to see him triggered. And I think that he's also going to come to the realization in these next 3 months that he is a bit tired, like especially mentally. He's a bit tired of always having to fight people. He doesn't want to, but I think that this is a sort of like survival mechanism, defense mechanism in him. I think that if he does get triggered, is because there's a wound, there's some sorrow inside of him that somehow when he feels disrespected or where he feels like he's not valued, he tends to react, and he always blames himself. Like, why do I always end up with in this same situation? He acknowledges it, but sometimes he does it when it's too late, when he already like said something or probably made things worse for himself. So in this moment is about in these cards, the lesson for him to learn is to not engage, to not engage. And then of the card of vanity, you know, the card of the oracle of the chakras. Also, if you see, the card has its borders are blue because it does represent the chakra of the throat chakra, that it talks about communication as well. So there's like there's a lot of energy of communication here. Of course, we know that with his voice and his message and his ideas, he tends to create a lot for himself and the group. But I think that it also here with the card of vanity, I think that there's also something here that reminds him to be a bit more humble. Because I don't know if maybe, like I mentioned, sometimes he does react from a place of from from a wounded ego, so sometimes when he responds back, he can come off a bit like a bit cocky or a bit condescending to others, and he doesn't realize that he does it. So here with the card of vanity, I think that what is reminding him is um that there are a lot of people that probably want to trigger him because they know that uh that he tends to be very out there, like for example, if he doesn't like something, or if he doesn't agree on something, he talks publicly about it, like he is. So I'm somehow thinking, if he does anyone know if he has placements in Leo? Because with the card of vanity, I don't know why I got I got like this feeling that he could have some Leo placements. That can also be like where he does this very grandiose attitude or gesture when he feels attacked, like somehow he starts to say too much in the front of a public, or if someone is doing an interview, he like tends to like he's like a book, if you ask him about something, he's going to tell you. He's very like um he's very spontaneous and very honest. Um so probably he doesn't mind that. He doesn't care if it's in front of a camera, if someone is recording things. He tells you how he feels. And if he does feel offended by certain things, he will let you know, or he will write a song about it. So but people tend to see it like there's a sort of tendency in him, so they does tend to maybe criticize him for that, for being a bit too overreactive. So but definitely he does have his reasons. It's like I don't think he is a vain person. I think that the card of vanity, for me, it represents that sometimes he does put on a mask to show others that he's more brave than actually what he feels inside. Actually, he is, I believe he's very humble inside. It's just that he had been hurt by words and other people's opinions in the past. So he does put on this mask of this very savage person, this very outspoken person, because it's a self defense mechanism. But he does need to work on that, because somehow what he says sometimes it does get him into trouble. I don't know. I think there's also something here with vanity that I think that he definitely needs to be a bit more reserved about who he talks to, and who he shares his thoughts and ideas with. Because I sense that in his, probably with all the other members or in the company, there's a lot of division. There's a lot of like separations and different interests. So if he talks with one group of people, he has to be like clever enough to not talk about them with the other group, to resolve information and um not try to be like okay, and to be like in good terms with all of them. I think that he tries to be like good with all of them or with all the people involved, and sometimes and somehow these cards are letting me know that there are some there are some situations in which he cannot be no longer the mediator. That there are some differences that he cannot meddle in, that it's better if he stays out of that, so he doesn't create more confusion than what already it is. That these are very sensitive times, so he should be more reserved and not talk about others, just in case. Because I think that there are some people that are very jealous and and reserved about their matters and their future plans. So I think that if he knows something about others, he should keep it to himself and not just talk about it. So I hope that that made sense. So yes, guys, this is all I have for him. So thank you so much for the people that made their recommendation, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.